Welcome to the 49ers Camelot Show. Wanted to hop in and just run through some things. We did a 49ers mailbag at 49ers Web Zone this week, came out today. And so I wanted to go through those questions and also wanted to look at the latest on the roster moves for the 49ers. So also John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan spoke today. So I'm going to just kind of hit real quick on what they talked about. Hey, while you're sitting there watching, why don't you take a second and hit that like button? Make sure that you like the show. Make sure that you like the channel. Subscribe. Do all that stuff. If you're listening somewhere else, then other than YouTube, then please take a moment to rate, review, and follow the 49ers Camelot Show. And also, I'd like you to check out PSF, which stands for Pro Sports Fans. It's a new app, and we're doing some cool stuff in there, some chat, some live stuff during the games, like live streams and chats, things like that. So it's going to be a cool space for 49ers fans and for fans of all kinds of teams and pro sports. So go check that out. You can download it on Apple, and I believe that it's going to be ready on Android any day now. So go check that out. So let's do a couple of house cleaning things as far as the 49ers roster before we get into the mailbag. So on Tuesday, the 49ers released their roster cuts and broke everything down to the initial 53-man roster. Some of the notable cuts included Jack Coletto, Deshaun Jameson, Quantrez Knight, Ilm Manning, Tay Martin, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, that one surprised me, Austin Bryant, Chris Conley, Troy Fumagalli, Kerry Hyder Jr., T.Y. McGill, Willie Snead, and Leroy Watson. Now, here's the bad news on that, is that Carolina claimed Deshaun Jameson. So that stinks because I was hoping that he would make it back to the 49ers practice squad, but he was picked up. And so was Ilm Manning. Arizona claimed him and also claimed Keith Ishmael. So those players will not be coming back to the 49ers. East Coast Red and Gold podcast. What's up, guys? Great to see y'all. Hey, I said this last time they came in here, snuck in here and said hi. Go check out the East Coast Red and Gold podcast. They do great work. And I'm actually going to be on live with Ty Alston tomorrow at 2 o'clock Pacific. So that's 5 o'clock Eastern. So check that out. I'm going to see if I can stream it to my channel as well. So then that way you can see on Ty's channel or here. So getting back to the news, but go check them out because they're a lot of fun. Darrell Luter Jr. was placed on PUP, physically unable to perform. And so he's actually going to be out for the first 4 games. So he's not going to be eligible to play. So hopefully when he comes back, he can actually do some things. He hasn't been a part of practice because he's been injured. I mean, he was a part of the off-season program, but not in training camp, wasn't involved in preseason games. So when he does come back after that 4-game layoff, I don't know how long it's going to take him to get up to speed on everything. So we'll have to see. The 49ers also placed 4 other players on IR, including Cam Latu. So that kind of stinks. But next season, Latu will be ready to go. Then the practice squad. So the 49ers released their practice squad players, the ones that they did get back. Let's see. They got Alex Barrett, Jack Coletto. So that's good. He was a fan favorite. Chris Conley. Like seeing him come back. T.Y. McGill, Troy Fumagalli, Brian Hill, Corey Luciano, Leroy Watson. A lot of people liked him. Alfredo Gutierrez, Tay Martin. He's one that I liked. Isaiah Winstead, Willie Snead. So it's good that Willie Snead and Chris Conley made it back because I thought that one of those would make it, but they both were cut yesterday. Marlon Davidson, Curtis Robinson, Trace Willing, and the most exciting one to me is Quantrez Knight. So Knight is going to be coming to the practice squad. I guess there were a lot of teams that were trying to get Quantrez Knight, but he is back with the 49ers. So that is good news. So let's get into this 49ers mailbag. Of course, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch spoke today, and they really didn't say anything that earth-shattering. I mean, they said that there was no new news on I'm trying to find some of the things that they said, but no new news on the Nick Bosa front. They did both say we are not trading Nick Bosa, so that we can put that to rest. They also said that Robert Beal Jr. Has a hamstring and he's going to go on IR, so that's disappointing. Jake Moody is tracking well, and they hope that he's going to be ready for week 1, but because they don't know, they're probably going to add a kicker to the practice squad. Danny Gray is going to IR to begin the season. And so that actually opens up a spot for either Kerry Hyder Jr. or Austin Bryant to come back to the team. So I don't know how long Danny Gray is going to be out. The fact that they said he's going to be on IR to begin the season makes it sound like he'll be back at some point. But they really didn't have a whole lot to say other than those little nuggets about some players going to IR and then about Jake Moody looking better physically, as far as recovering from his injury. And then Nick Bosa, they said that he's not going to be traded. Crazy Juice, what's up? Said, I'm disappointed that Il Manning, Joey Fisher, and Deshaun Jameson got picked up by other teams. Yeah, me too. Not so much Joey Fisher, but definitely Il Manning. Like, how did he get cut and Nick Zakelj made the team? And who was the other? Matt Pryor. I think he made the team. And so it's like, I mean, I know they don't always play the same positions, but still, that was disappointing. And Deshaun Jameson, I wonder if Isaiah Oliver, if his money wasn't guaranteed, and if they didn't pay so much to get him, if he would have been cut and Deshaun Jameson would have made the team. But maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed by that too, because I hope to see him. I hope to see all three of those guys make it, but especially Jameson and Manning for sure. All right, let's jump into the 49ers Web Zone mailbag. Didn't have very many questions this week, just a handful. So let's get in. So Justin asks, which rookie do you think will make the biggest impact aside from the kicker? So I've said all along that and Matt Mayoka, I've heard him say this multiple times, so I'm giving him credit for it, that Jake Moody is going to have the biggest impact on the 49ers, good or bad, of all the rookies. So he's either going to be really good, hit some big kicks, and impact the team as far as wins, or he's going to do the opposite and miss some big kicks and impact the team as far as losses. But since Justin's asking for the biggest impact aside from kickers, I'm going to say I narrowed it down to Jair Brown or Ronnie Bell. And so I think that if Ray McCloud was done for the season, or if he was missing several games, I might go with Ronnie Bell, because then he'd be returning punts. Maybe he'd be returning kicks. He'd be another receiving threat out there. But I think that Kyle Shanahan seems to be expecting Ray McCloud back for that first game. And if he does miss any time, he shouldn't miss much more than a game. So with that, I'm going to say that Ronnie Bell's not going to quite get the opportunities that I thought that he would. Certainly with Danny Gray going on IR to start the season, that's going to open up things for Bell. But I'm still going to go with Jair Brown. The kid's going to play a lot. He's a playmaker. And so Jair Brown is going to be my prediction for the rookie that makes the biggest impact. So there you go. Next question is from Niner Jim. Will the defense need some time to adjust to the new schemes in place? I think maybe a little bit, but I think that Steve Wilks is not going to venture too far away from what has made the 49ers defense so good over the last handful of years. He'd be a moron to do so. And he's not. He's a smart defensive coach. He's a well-respected defensive coach. So I think that he's going to come in. He's going to lean on his defensive assistants and try to get a good idea of what's made this team, this defense, so good. And I think that he's going to stick with those things. Is he going to blitz more? Probably so. But I don't think that that's going to be a huge adjustment for the players. I think that Wilkes may not have the experience in the wide nine. But again, I think that he's going to lean on some of his defensive assistants for things like that. The biggest concern for Steve Wilkes right now is the fact that he doesn't yet have number 97 lining up for his defense. Of course, I'm talking about Nick Bosa, who still hasn't signed his new contract, which leads me to the next question from Adam. What the heck is going on with Nick Bosa, and why is Lynch not having this deal done yesterday? Well, that is the question. And so John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have been asked those questions, especially John Lynch. And they, Lynch said today that he didn't expect it to be this difficult. He thought that it would go smoother and that it would happen sooner. And so I don't think that the 49ers know unless they're playing hardball beyond what they normally do, and they just don't want to reveal that. That's very possible. And of course, Bosa, he's keeping quiet, so that's not to be not any surprise. Crazy Juice, Bosa will get signed. Yeah, he's going to get signed. I'm getting a little nervous, but I'm not worried about that. So, but yeah, I don't know why he's still not signed. But there is a ray of hope. Now, I'm going to get to that in just a second. Earlier this week, I think it was maybe on Monday, Ian Rappaport was on the Pat McAfee show, and he said this about the 49ers and Nick Bosa. They're not there yet, and I don't get the sense they're close at all. So I don't get the sense anything is imminent, but at least it sounds like there's been some level of conversation, I guess, which is as there should be. It's like there's been at least some touching base. They're not there yet, and I know this probably doesn't make anyone feel better, but there still is a lot of time. I mean, Bosa, I'm sure, keeps himself in unbelievable shape. I don't think he's going to need a lot of acclimation period. So this didn't make me feel any better when Rappaport said that Bosa and the 49ers are not even close. That obviously was not good news. But then there was somebody on Reddit yesterday, on Tuesday, who kind of stirred things up because they said that the 49ers were about to trade Bosa to an AFC team. And this person claims to be the one who broke the news that Christian McCaffrey was headed to the 49ers. I have no idea who this person is, but I'm skeptical to believe what they say for a couple of reasons. First, I don't know if this person has any kind of inside knowledge at all. And second, the 49ers would be dumb to trade Nick Bosa, especially who is their best player in a season where they're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Who would do that? I mean, it's not like when the 49ers traded Charles Haley years ago. I mean, that worked out poorly, but Haley was really divisive in the locker room, and he had become a problem. Bosa's not that guy. Bosa's not a problem. He's not a problem in the locker room. He's not threatening people. He's not peeing on people's cars or whatever it was Charles Haley did. He's not. I mean, Charles Haley's his relationship with George Seifert was really bad. I think Haley hated Steve Young for some reason, probably because he wasn't Joe Montana. He hated the fact that the 49ers had let Ronnie leave in the Plan B free agency. And so Charles Haley was angry. I mean, we know now that he was dealing with some bipolar disorder. And so he's talked about that in recent years. But yeah, man, they were having a hard time. Nick Bosa is nothing like that. And I say that with all due respect to Charles Haley, but Bosa's not like that. So, and again, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch both today said, no, we are not trading Nick Bosa. So here's the ray of hope. Not only did they say that, but this morning, Jason Dumas who I think is maybe with 95.7 the game. I think that's who he's with. He tweeted out, source, Nick Bosa will be with the team and available to play week 1 in Pittsburgh. The two sides plan to get a deal done within the next few days. And so that I hope that that's true, because that is a glimmer of hope that that maybe this deal with Bosa will be over very soon. So we need to get him in there. So that is the latest on Nick Bosa. He's not going to be traded, and according to sources, he's going to be agreeing to an agreement with the 49ers, agreeing on a new contract with the 49ers here in the next few days. So he should be ready to go in Pittsburgh week 1. So let's move to the next question. Justin asks, gosh, I feel like I left out some questions. Justin asked, with already concerning cornerback depth, do you think Lenoir at nickelback is in their best interest? You know, it's funny you should ask that, because I'm not crazy about Diamador Lenoir having to slide inside to nickel. From what I hear, it's going to be he'll be out on the outside with the opposite side of Charvarius Ward, and then in those nickel situations, he'll move inside. And it sounds like Ambry Thomas would then come in and play on the outside. And so there's two reasons why I'm not crazy about this. For starters, Diamador Lenoir is still a young player who is developing. And so I think that somebody like that probably needs to stay in one spot so he can really develop. The other reason is that I just don't trust Ambry Thomas. And I don't have anything against him, obviously, but I just remember late in the 2021 season, of course, that was his rookie year. And so, it's hard to take a rookie corner and critique him, but I didn't feel great. And then we all saw what happened last year when Ambry Thomas seemed to be in the doghouse. And I don't know if that was that he came in and his head was too big and he thought he already had it figured out, or if he wouldn't tackle, or what it was. But Ambry Thomas was in the doghouse most of last season. He got passed by Samuel Womack. He didn't play hardly at all. I don't know how much Ambry Thomas played. And so not a good sophomore season for Ambry Thomas. But this year, to his credit, he's come in ready. He's playing better. He's looked good in the preseason. He looked good in training camp. And so I hope that it's a brand new Ambry Thomas, but I'm still a little concerned about it. I mean, we look at last season where you had Charvarius Ward on one side and Emmanuel Moseley on the other, and they were really good. They paid all that money to bring in Charvarius Ward. And in my opinion, last year, Emmanuel Moseley was better than Ward was. And then he had that injury and went down, and I was really concerned. But Lenoir came in and played really well. He made a lot of mistakes, but he did have some. As the season went on, he played much better, and in the postseason was as good or better than Charvarius Ward. So that's neither here nor there. But I'm not in love with that. With the thought of Lenoir going to the nickel corner. 49ers Ultimate Report. What's up? Thanks for jumping in here. And they said, sup, everyone in the chat. So great to have you here, man. Great to have all of y'all that are in and watching. My last question on here from the 49ers Web Zone mailbag. Like I said, this week it wasn't a huge one. Obviously, next week I'm sure it's going to be much bigger. Usually it is during the season when there's a lot going on. And it's funny because here's what we've found out. When the 49ers win, our 49ers mailbag is a decent size. We get a lot of questions. When the 49ers lose, man, it's really big. And so we have to weed through a lot of questions because everybody's airing their grievances when the 49ers lose. So this is from Niner Jim. How much of a concern is depth and how it affects special teams? Well, depth is definitely a bigger concern for the 49ers this season than it has been, I'd say, over the past 4 years. This is still one of the most talented rosters in the league. especially with the starters, that starting 22 or so. But the depth isn't what it used to be. My biggest areas of concern when it comes to depth are cornerback. We just talked about that, that beyond Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore, there's a lot of inexperience and some question marks. So I'm concerned about the depth at corner. If something happens to Lenore or Ward, what is that going to look like? Offensive line, it would be another area that I'm concerned about, especially tackle. What happens if Trent Williams goes down? What happens if Colton McKivitz struggles? That could be catastrophic. So worried about that. And then edge rusher, assuming Bosa's back for week 1, there's still not much depth behind him that I would get excited about. Like we don't even know yet who's going to be starting on the opposite side. Is it going to be Drake Jackson? Is it going to be Cleveland Farrell? I still don't know that. And so that gives me a little bit of cause of concern, makes me a little anxious over that because, you just don't know. But here's the thing that Niner Jim kind of hit on this and how a lack of depth relates to the special teams. When you have a lot of depth and you have talent, a lot of talent beyond the starters, then those backups, which are quality guys that probably would be starting on most other teams, they're in there on special teams. And so they're playing really important snaps for the team. And your special teams is going to be really good because whether it's in the return game or in the coverage units, you have talented players playing in those spots. But here's the thing. When you lose a lot of that depth, some of the quality of your special teams goes away because now these players that were so good as backups that could be starting somewhere else, now they're actually starting somewhere else. And so now your core special teamers are guys that aren't quite as good as maybe what you had the year before. And so what that leads to it can be bad special teams where maybe you have a punt return or a kick return that's brought back for a touchdown and you give up a lot of big plays or you have returners that fumble the ball or you do something, that just isn't what the 49ers, because remember 2 years ago, their special teams was horrible and they really upgraded last year. And so this year they lost some of those guys. Now they still have George Odom. But like for example, they lost Azeez Al-Shire. So he went somewhere else. And now his replacement is who was a special team star last year, is not going to be able to play on special teams. So he's actually going to be, I want to, like, his name's just slipped my mind. So Oren Burks. Oren Burks was a special teams ace last year. And so what happened is when Azeez left, now Oren Burks is probably going to be the starter. So he's likely not going to be playing on special teams. Maybe he's not technically a starter. He's that third linebacker. So maybe they'll still use him on special teams, but I think that maybe D Winters, Jalen Graham, those kind of guys. And hey, maybe they're going to be like superstars on special teams. But that's just an example of when you lose a guy like Azeez and now your next guy up comes into the starting lineup, it hurts you a little bit where you just left off. Bryant, what's up, man? Great to have you here. Love your logo. That's pretty cool. Bryant says, smash the like button, everybody. Yeah, please do that. That really helps us out. So that's all of the questions from the 49ers mailbag that I had this week. Like I said, it wasn't a real big one. But again, the 49ers lost some guys who they cut. Jameson, Deshaun Jameson, Ilm Manning, Keith Ishmael, both all three of those guys ended up signing somewhere else. Carolina got Jameson, Arizona got Manning and Ishmael. Darrell Luter Jr. put on PUP, 4 put on IR. Actually, 4 were put on IR, but then we started hearing more let's see, who were some of the ones we talked about earlier. So Cameron Latu is on IR, but I mentioned him yesterday. Robert Bill Jr., Danny Gray was put on IR. It doesn't sound like he's going to be out the season though. So yeah, that's so there was some news today, and of course Lynch and Shanahan spoke and said we're not trading Nick Bosa, so we can rest easy. Bryant says, thank you for everything you did for 33. Yeah, man, my pleasure. I want Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame so bad. And I think it's going to happen next year. And the reason that I think that, I've said on here before, that for one reason, Matt Mayoko told me that this year the vote was really close and Roger almost got in. And he said that that he believes next year is Rodgers' year. And Matt said that he's never said that. Now, a lot can change. There are no guarantees, but that's a very positive thing. And then I also talked to someone that I've worked closely with on the Roger Craig projects from Eddie DeBartolo's office, who told me that she spoke with 2 Hall of Fame voters who were in the room the day that Roger Craig was not picked, and that both of these Hall of Fame voters told her there was a lot of positive discussion for Roger Craig, more than any other Hall of Fame candidate. And they said that bodes really well, and that they wouldn't be surprised if next year we get really good news. So those are really positive things. Of course, Steve McMichael was one of the ones that they voted in. And McMichael, as you probably know, is dying of ALS. And so I had a couple of Hall of Fame voters that I interviewed for the Roger Craig podcast series that we did, who told me, as Hall of Fame voters, it really means a lot to us to try to get these guys in, because once they get to the senior part of the senior candidacy, their chances go way down of ever getting enshrined. And so these guys spoke with a lot of passion that it really hurts them to have guys like Ken Stabler get elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame after he's already passed away. And so I have to think that as Steve McMichael nears the end of his life, and he's probably not going to be around a year later, this time next year, when the Hall of Fame inductees are enshrined, which is sad. That's unfortunate for him. But so I have to think that played a part. And I'm also told that the Hall of Fame voter that made the plea for Steve McMichael did an amazing job. So we have other things planned for Roger Craig for next year. We've already started working on it, and we've actually received a commitment from Keena Turner, who works for the 49ers, that after the season is over, the 49ers are going to jump in and help, maybe with some analytics type things that are going to show the kind of impact that Roger Craig made on the team. So thanks, Bryant, and hey, my pleasure to do anything I can to help out Roger Craig. He's a sweet guy, and he deserves to be in. So, hey, thanks so much for watching the 49ers Camelot Show, or listening wherever you get your podcasts. Please take a minute and subscribe, like the show, all those things that you're always asked to do. I know it gets redundant, but it really helps us. So, hey, thanks everybody. Tomorrow I'm going to be with Ty Alston of the. He's on the East Coast Red and Gold show, but he has his own channel, and so I'm going to be on with him tomorrow at 2:00 Pacific. And so if I'm not streaming it from this channel, then you can look up Ty Alston. I'll put it on Twitter as well, so that way everybody will know that it's where it's at. So thanks, guys. Appreciate the love and appreciate your support. Everybody have